Yep, here we go. And the map is going to be Team Islands, I would say, with a road here. Yep, it's going to be Team Islands right there. And looking overall at the water, do we see some kind of problem? Not really, not really. I don't really think that either side has anything to complain about. Looking at the left, that's quite a lot of fish there, and also on the right side, so not much of a problem overall. And in the middle, well, there seems to be quite a lot of it as well, so I wouldn't really be worried about something going wrong for either of the sides here. Otherwise, we also see that the main island is housing one of the relics for the team RoR. Actually, two relics here. Okay, so both relics, or both, both three. Okay, three relics on the right side of the map, so that's pretty huge bonus for RoRs, or huge. Yeah, it's something substantial because look at how their opponents are having just one. It could definitely be something that they would be happy about in the later game if it is going to take something, if it is going to go there. What is also good to notice at this point is that Gauchos have won the battle against POJs also on Team Islands, where they have went for pretty sneak landing, and it really worked out quite nicely. So RORs definitely have to be careful about that if they want to survive later into the game here. So yep, here we see a bit of a stone here, and gold and stone placement seems to be pretty fine, at least for the pocket player ROR Tommy at this point. And well, only water maps. It depends what the players choose. So far, in both previous matches, we have seen one land map and one water map, so I'm kinda guessing it's going to be the same here. This is the home map for Gauchos, and I'm thinking that RORs are going to pick Arabia or Arena. Either of those. Either Arena or Arabia, so I will be guessing that the next map is yet again going to be the land one. Quite a lot of gold and stone in the middle between green player and the gray one, and otherwise the main gold is also pretty safe, and this stone is not really all that great because it's behind the tree line, but at the same time we are on Team Islands, so he shouldn't be having any kind of troubles gathering from that. This stone, in rather gold, is not secure, that's definitely in water range overall, and this stone is not really ideal either, so should be careful about that. What's also curious to mention at this point is that ROR's island is basically protected by the nature itself, by the wolves here. Basically he doesn't need to build some extra houses there because he will know when the landing is happening, and also the opponent will be having a bit harder time landing somewhere there. Looking at the dock's placement at this point for the first players, we see yeah, that pitch shot is right now waiting at the right side to place the dock. So it's going to be a bit of a... Yeah, it's not either defensive, either offensive. Offensive dock would definitely be in the middle here somewhere, just trying to contain the strait here, but that's not happening at this point, and he's just trying to make sure that he doesn't let anyone go to the backside, and that he is having a pretty good line of sight onto the middle here, and pretty good access there as well. Looking how he is also successfully luring the boar in, and looking at his mines that are pretty nicely positioned, he seems to be having pretty decent map overall. Yeah, this is the relic that we have already talked about, and Red is building a dock at the very back, so he's not going for an aggressive build either. He has, unfortunately for him, built the dock at a kind of unfortunate spot. He does have some shorefish, so he won't be all that bad off for the very beginning, but next dock will probably go somewhere else, like here, because obviously this is going to be quite a bountiful part of the sea to be gathering from. So here's another relic. The other actually are having two as well, so not the three that RORs are having, but at least two, so that's a bit different than having just one. And what's also curious to notice is this triple hunt on the left side of the island. That's pretty curious indeed, and I'm also curious if somebody is going to take advantage of that. Probably the red player who is the closest there. What could be potentially a problem is this stone that is pretty badly placed, and if they happen to lose the water, they probably won't have access to it. And this one is also pretty questionable, because I think that at least war galleons for sure will be having a pretty clear line of sight, especially on this. So stupid boar, so let's see what's happening here. So probably some kind of lure is not happening as Jon Snow would have liked, yeah. Another attempt with the Billy, and he will be hoping that actually this gal can survive. She is having loom, so she could, but still she will be at pretty low hit points, and I'm kinda thinking he will want to shoot the boar actually sooner than that. And yeah, right now this is a pretty good idea. He's trying to basically stop the ball and allow some extra time for these other guys to prevent the extra hit into the Willy, which is exactly successful and a very nice high level play from Jon Snow at the very beginning here. Going for a bit of a house, and yeah, building the houses here, and he is going for an aggressive dock. This is a proper aggressive dock on Team Islands, and he will be trying to protect the strait as much as he can, and will be hoping that he can take care of that together with his ally Angelina Jolie, who is also going for the middle of the map. So they will be probably trying to contain the middle, which means they will be also protecting themselves against potential sneaky landings. But for that, they will also have to protect the middle, because the middle is obviously the most problematic and could be a bit of a problem. But looking how Grey is there's absolutely no way to see that on the minimap with with all those fishing spots there. And yeah, that's that. And here we see, oh well, that sucks. That sucks for Tommy, because he has just lost the Willy here to those two walls. There is already one dead, and second one, unfortunately for him, has killed the Willy altogether. And this scout is, yeah, not going to live much longer either. So he wasn't having Loom, I guess. Yeah, he wasn't. Okay. Yeah, he wasn't having Loom, and he paid with the life of his villagers for that. Okay, so that's that second dog being built here. And how's it looking with extra dogs? 3 dogs for the top player, Angelina Jolie. And otherwise, here we see still just one, or is this going to be, this is from Grey. Okay, so it's just one dog, second dog here, and third will be somewhere around here. Yep, so that's pretty much it. Looking at purple, he's having both dogs at the very back. Still just 2, not really 3, but this guy's probably moving for a third dog pretty soon, somewhere here maybe, or here. Yeah, he's going for a bit more aggression, which is just as well, as he will be having to actually somehow control the middle of the map. He doesn't want to relinquish that altogether. And double dogs for a red, but he hasn't built it at an opportune spot. And he will yet again, as I mentioned, have to move somewhere here. And he is making at least use of this very nice triple hunt. That's absolutely gorgeous hunt and quite a ton of food for him. Yeah, you can see here that Sinside is also making use of some extra hunt, and he's also dropping Blacksmith, so that's going to be a faster castle from him right off the bat, having just one dog. Okay, so that's going to be, yep, pretty clear faster castle, so let's see about that. Right now it seems like that Angelina Jolie should be having a pretty easy time winning the battle here, obviously 3 versus 1 dogs, and sorry, I'm really thinking that Gauchos are yet again aiming for the strategy from their first match with POJs, and that's going to be some sneaky landing, but are they going to succeed? So far they're not really having a pretty good starting position, because at the top Orange is just going to own his opponent as much as he can, whereas at the bottom it seems like that Green should be able to handle pitch shot. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because the numbers are exactly in the opposite here, so yeah. Green should be the one that will be actually under attack from his opponent pretty soon. At the top though, there's, yeah, literally no question. But at the same time, Sinside is advancing into the castle age, so let's see about that, how that is going to develop. So far I don't see any preparing for any potential landing or whatever. Everybody's just going for the water battle, just a faster castle from Sinside. And looking at other players, something interesting here. 75 Phillies for pitch shot. That could be considered interesting compared to his teammate Mate and the other players like Jon Snow and Tommy at 828. And looking at the players themselves, I'm just going to go through RoRs. Not advancing into Castle Age for Tommy. Jon Snow not advancing either. And no, I want Angelina Jolie as the last one, also not advancing. But what we do see is Sinside advancing into Castle Age, Gaucho Mate also, so that seems like double Castle Age, and Angelina Jolie just, yeah, right now saying that they should be checking for sneak landing. Interesting placement, but that's basically just running away, and I would be expecting something like that really, because this is kind of curious strategy from Gauchos, but it could really somehow pay off, because they are not being attacked as much as they could be. I'm guessing at this point, because you can see that Orange is still right next to his base, so he's not applying enough pressure on his opponent. And okay, this is why. Sorry, This is why, because Tommy is basically taking his place and he's trying to make sure that Teal is not having any kind of stuff here. But here we go with the preparing for landing, and yeah, it's coming. But unfortunately for him, Orange will be knowing all about it, and that's not going to fly here for them. So this game might be actually over before it even began. I'm kinda afraid for Gauchos, and well, is that going to happen? Yeah, very well could. This seems like pretty much the similar amount of boats for both purple and green. I'm not expecting anybody to win the water battle just here. And otherwise, this is probably going to be the most important part of the game, because Steel is attempting to go for the landing, but yep, this is it. Or has maybe Orange already seen it? I kinda guess no. I think that he has just went around. He has already seen the market and the blacksmith. And what's this? I'm just going to check into the game room what's happening. Maybe it isn't some kind of drop or whatnot. No, it's just a pause. Yeah, just waiting for the right moment to resume into the game. Resume into the game in here. And something interesting somewhere. Well, it's interesting that Angelina Jolie is not advancing into Castle Age or is nowhere close, just developing the feudal age economy. Then the next player from RoR, Jon Snow, also not advancing anytime soon. They're just still also going for a proper echo as much as they can. Well, the last one from RoRs is going to be Tommy. And he is having slightly more resources, but still nothing anywhere near close to the Castle Age. Quite a decent echo from Mate, with at least with those fishing boats. Yeah, that's 15 fishing boats as compared to like 4, 4, 4, 3, 4 from his opponents and even allies, so that's not like anybody is going for some heavy echo, which is kind of curious. I would maybe expect, especially with so many boats in the middle here, that maybe at least Grey as a pocket will be going for them, as he doesn't have to worry about all that much. He just needs to build extra boats and help either on the bottom side or at the top to kill his opponent altogether. At this point, pretty much at the bottom, because yeah, Teal is not fighting water at all, and well, he could be free to go for his own pretty strong economy and faster advance into Castle Age himself. Looking at the Gauchos inside. He's having a line of sight here through this one galley, so he's trying to make... He's actually trying to find where he should land, and he's definitely not having any kind of luck, I think. He knows that possibly here could be the good place, as it's not defended all that much. And yep, this would be a pretty nice one, but otherwise he would be having to land somewhere at the bottom, which is defended very nicely by the scout and also by the wolves from the nature, quite obviously. That's a pretty long pause. That's a pretty long pause at this point, and we are still waiting for something to happen here. Otherwise, something interesting elsewhere. Well, looking at the economies, I don't really think we're going to see something extra super important or unexpected. This is kind of interesting for Jon Snow to have the blacksmith here, so potentially for upgrades, or maybe he's slightly thinking about the faster castle age, but still, it's not really going to be all that faster with two gauchos already in, and he doesn't even have the resources, just as we have seen just a moment earlier. He's just basically toasted with all the food and such, and he doesn't have all that much strong economy, even though he is one of the most villages, 30. It seems like all three RORs are basically at the same level, with Sinside advancing faster through Castle Age and sacrificing the villager count. Yeah, right now 6 less than his opponents, which is a pretty decent number, and could be a bit of a problem if the landing doesn't work, which so far seems to be the case. Next from Gauchos, for example, to have a look at is Pichot at this point, who is dropping Blacksmith. Doesn't have the resources for castle, so yeah, doesn't need to worry about advancing there, but he will be probably attempting to still continue with the feudal aggression and maybe holding his opponents busy so that they don't think about advancing into castle themselves. Into, for example, Mate, the pocket for them. Yet another mining camp here, and something interesting somewhere. Send in Willy at the bottom. So that's a galley. Maybe waiting for a transport ship, maybe somewhere, but so far not. So he is just attempting to join in, win the battle, and he is right now going to basically build up his navy and then join with the war galleys once he's researched into Castle Age and then into that upgrade. That's pretty much going to be the plan of action, I think, here. The last from Gauchos is going to be, yeah, back to Sinside. How is the plan for him at this point? And finally the pause is gone and we are continuing with the game here. So yep, here we go. Yeah, here's also the unfortunate landing. That's probably not going to happen. 3 villagers together with a scout. And oh well, he actually did not see that. Yeah, he was just running there blind. He didn't see actually the transport ship, and it was quite lucky for Sinside because he has somehow noticed that. And this is going to be a landing from him. He's right now maybe gathering some extra guys, or is he going to gather some extra Willies from Mate? And let's switch into him to properly see what's going to happen here. Yeah, Angelina Jolie right now saying that they should be making outposts. And oh, they need to kill this, they need to kill this, they need to kill this pretty soon. Because if they don't, it's just going to be the plan pretty much over. Yeah, he needs to be careful about that. And we have yet another pause here. Oh, this is turning into a bit of a pause fest. It's not ideal. And well. Ah, here we go. Yet again we go. And this is a pretty nice attempt. Or well, actually it wasn't any kind of attempt. And oh my, he just gave up what's happening here. Ah, they just gave up what's happening here, and that's not going to be any surprise any longer. So a bit of a water battle here though at the bottom, where orange is not doing a good enough job with purple. And that's basically because purple should be the job of Jon Snow in the first place, so that's that. And well, I'm really curious how the landing is going to happen at this point, because they should have seen that. They haven't said anything in the chat. So I'm not exactly sure if they have properly noticed. But if they haven't, that would be a pretty huge luck for Gauchos, because this is basically the only thing that they are right now hoping for at this point. Yep, some fire ships from the Mongols coming in onto those boats, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And what's going to happen now? That's going to be a landing onto the Wolfies here, it seems. Yep, yes, run to the south, and this is going to be, yeah, landing. And Imano, yes, this is home map from Gauchos, and they are attempting exactly the same strategy as with Power of Japan, and that's some kind of sneak landing, and with some nice double, double what I wanted to say, with some double castle ages indeed. Yep, so he's going in, and Scout is going there as well. Okay, so they have noticed, I guess. They have noticed that something is happening here, and Gauchos inside doesn't know about the Scout yet. But he will know pretty soon, yeah, he definitely knows. And Green knows as well. Yep, so they have noticed actually the transport ship that was going around those fishing boats. It was unfortunate for the teal player and the Gaucho overall. And right now, oh well, he will be trying to land here, so they definitely don't care at this point. They just land in and try to actually build whatever they can. And Sinside is not having enough for anything. He just right now drop in stables, so it's going to be a bit of scout cavalry, or rather knights for the Radiant, because he's already in the castle age. And let's see if that's going to work for them. I kinda think it shouldn't, because Jon Snow should be well prepared for that. On the water there, though, it seems like that red together with purple are winning, which is slightly unfortunate because, yeah, RoRs just had the waters just to themselves, and at this point they are on the verge of actually losing it. At the north, purple or rather orange is not doing anything substantial. He has basically put teal out of the water altogether. He doesn't have any kind of docks, a few idlers here, and literally nothing else. So now right now he will be probably housed. And here we see yet another boat. Transport ship, and it's probably going to be gathering some of those willies. Yeah, he's gathering the willies. One more. Yeah, one more right here, and it's going to be somewhere else. So let's see where the next spot is going to be for the proper landing, or are they just going to give up? Not exactly sure at this point, because Inside is not even building anything. And since, yeah, Jon Snow has built the walls here, that's pretty much it, and that's basically the reason why he's retreating from this part of the island, and he will be forced to retreat to somewhere else and try to this attempt somewhere else yet again. Okay, so far on the water though, Gauchos are doing pretty good job, as they are pretty convincingly winning, especially on the bottom side, where Grey together with Green are not doing enough, as they are just now advancing into Castle Age for Jon Snow and into the War Galleys for Tommy, with Angelina Jolie being in Castle Age just about now, and this is going to be slightly tricky for them, and oh well, this is gutsy. Oh, this is definitely gutsy landing. It worked just like that, and he is right inside, and Green needs to... Oh well, that's a proper micro. One more. Oh well, he did let at least this one knight through. That's pretty much it, and oh well, this actually isn't. There is much more space actually between those walls, and even though Jon Snow, yeah, attempted to go with the walls pretty fast, he wasn't fast enough, and right now it means that all of this is inside with the stables, and that's a pretty huge problem for Jon Snow, because right now he is just going for the barracks, and that's not going to be easy to defend against all that. But since the spearmen are having a pretty huge bonus against horses, it still could work, even though very interesting times coming for him. In the middle, we see a bit of a battle here from Angelina Jolie onto this poor scout, so probably maybe thinking about some kind of landing themselves. That wouldn't be the worst idea, I guess, but Orange is probably just going to ascertain his position on the water. I would be guessing at this point. I'm still curious why he isn't sending at least some of those galleys or war galleys at the very back, basically to kill the economy of his opponents. I'm really kinda confused about that, but well, let's see. Maybe this is going to be the next course of action, and at the bottom it seems like that RoRs are getting some ground, or rather water, under their feet at this point, and they are turning the battle slightly around. And yep, together with Angelina Jolie, this is a proper 2 versus 1, or rather 2 versus 2, between Gaucho and RoR. It seems like that Green has given up on the water, and is maybe just... yeah, he's having just a few boats, and he's having to concentrate actually on the defense of the landing from the teal player, who is already having a mangonel here. And let's see about that, if he can hit properly. He cheated. That was a pretty nice headshot right there. And pikemen are coming in, so this is going to be a bit of a micro battle between teal and green at this point. I'm not really thinking that Grey will be joining there anytime soon. Yeah, he's also being pretty heavily raided at this point by the knights. Yep, just finishing Monastery, and that's exactly the right answer to the knight raiding, as he will be stealing the units from his opponent very nicely indeed. Pitchot advancing to Castle Age and going for War Galleys. It's yet another important stat, or other thing in the game. And finally, Orange is going at the back of the main island, and this is going to result in the death of the economy of Mate. Yeah, who's basically going to lose all those boats in this spot. Yeah, that's not going to be nice roll at all. At the bottom, it also seems like that RoRs are slowly winning the battle, but it was basically just because Pitchot was waiting for his own war galleys. Right now they are engaging, which means that we are moving slightly back, but with a few bolts from Jon Snow. It seems to be that this might be actually a pretty good idea to engage for RoRs, but they need to engage all at once and not one by one, as they are so far doing. Yeah, finally they are moving into the right spots. This is a pretty huge water battle, and we will be switching onto the land pretty soon. This water, once one of the sides is actually decided that it's time to retreat, and so far I would be kinda guessing that the right side that should be retreating should be the right one. That's RoRs, as they are not receiving any kind of reinforcement just now. Whereas there's still a constant trickle from red and purple, so this is a pretty important battle right there. I have to at this point actually switch into the mainland, because Orange is also being raided by Inside. Inside is doing a pretty great job with his landing overall. Gaucho advancing into Imperial Age, that's also pretty important. But Inside, even though he is harassing his opponents quite nicely, he's right now going to lose the main base of operations on the enemy island, and that's pretty much going to be it, because those knights are not going to be good enough. And Scorpions are a pretty good idea, but yeah, kinda a bit too late, I kinda guess at this point. A lot of houses right here, and something extra. Siege Workshop for extra Scorpions from Teal. It's a pretty decent idea, but barracks from Grey, and also, yeah, the monks here stealing some of those units from his opponent, so that's a pretty good job. And just a few knights here, and they are almost dead, so I'm kinda thinking that maybe it could be even taken on by the villagers and some extra TC fire from exactly garrisoned villagers. Yep, so that's it. And bit of a defense quite nicely being done by Orange and also Wolfie. Also a Wolfie in the middle, some kind of fire ship here, waiting for potentially doing something. Nicely positioned palisade on the wolf to see when the opponents are advancing, and it seems like that the water battle is going slightly into rulers of Rome side, because they have been forcing their opponents Gaucho ever back, but it seems like that Gauchos are still just waiting for the correct moment, and this might be it, because they are having a pretty huge numbers, and Angelina Jolie right now asking that they go back and regroup and wait for slightly bigger numbers in their armies at this point. Yep, that's a lot of reinforcements coming in. I'm still curious why Green isn't sending even those. I'm maybe thinking that he doesn't even know about them. And inside the base here we see that the attack is pretty much stifled, and I'm thinking that Sinside's attempt is basically done, because he doesn't have all that much army. He still has those 3 knights, but that's pretty much it, and he won't be able to deal any more damage with them. He has killed a few willies here. Yeah, but at this point I kinda think it's not really going to matter. Even though, looking at the willies, we have 48 for Jolly, Jon Snow 49, Tommy 67, whereas Gauchos are having Sinside 88, Pitchot 50, and Mate 66. So they are actually having a pretty huge economy advantage against their opponents. So they are doing well overall, and even though Sinside's attack might have been killed at this point, it has put his opponent seriously out of position, and still might yield some results through those Scorpions. But since they are having minimal range, I'm kinda guessing they won't be dealing any kind of damage anytime soon. So this is going to be free meat. Oh well, they are not actually. Ah, they were in converting. That was pretty horrible. So this is pretty good engagement at this point. A lot of units dying overall. And is it going to work for Teal? Well, it almost might. Well, it actually did. Well. That was damn well played by Teal, actually. Switch into the, into the Scorpion's heal. That was very well played, but with this Mangonel here, this is pretty much going to be it. But he did kill all of those pikemen from his green opponent. Moving back to the water, we see that purple together with, what is it, red, have somehow broken through the lines of both orange and grey. And green, since he's not really making anything on the water, this is basically 2 versus 2, and it seems like that RoRs are not really doing well enough, which is kinda curious, as they did have the advantage in the early game, but not really so far. RoR Tommy is the first to advance into Imperial Age from his team, whereas Mate is already in the Imperial Age for quite some time. It's a lot of extra bows that are not being used and could be actually used for extra advantage on the water there. Some extra TCs for everybody, as you can see, yeah, developing the economy as is supposed to be happening. 4th TC for the red, and as it's looking for Teal. Also 4 TCs, and he's rebuilding, he's going back on the water. He's going back on the water with Vengeance. Well, that's 6 docks, protected by castle very nicely, and he will be attempting to actually go for galleons pretty soon, and also some elite cannon galleons pretty soon when he advances into Imperial Age, I would guess. He is definitely going for the resources, looking at the left top side. And that's almost the resources for the Imperial Age, and that's going to be a pretty nasty surprise for Rulers of Rome. Okay, so this is developing in all kinds of interesting ways, this game. On the water, at this point, I would have to guess that RoRs are basically out of it. Not exactly seeing how easily could they come back, because obviously the Imperial Age and the Galleons from Red are doing their job, and the next Imperial Age is from the side. The Imperial Age from his side is going to just confirm that when he returns fully back into the water. Right now, at least Tommy knows that what is happening here, but still, I'm not exactly sure that they will be able to do absolutely anything about that. Yet another castle to protect from potential landing, and also to support the naval battle, and that's just a spam of docks, and inside Yeah, he's coming for it. He's coming for it very nicely. And even though he has been repelled on the mainland of RoRs, this is just going to be it. This is just going to be it, and I'm not seeing how RoRs can actually turn this game around. It's going to be super hard. They might be able to succeed through some potential raiding or rather landing on their opponent's side, but that's probably not going to happen, because as you can see, Gauchos are right now building just docks absolutely everywhere, and they will be aware of absolutely any attempt that is going to be made by RoRs, and they will be also defending quite a lot of coast. And yeah, this is just going to be very hard indeed for RoRs to somehow come back into the game. So the early landing was pretty good indeed, as it disrupted Jon Snow and his presence on the water, and even though rulers of Rome seem to be having the water basically in their hands, Gauchos somehow overplay them and are the one dominating the game so far, and pretty convincingly I have to say at that. So let's see what the next plan is. Right now they are being, RoRs are even being raided at their gold. That's yet another problem, because yeah, this is going to be out pretty soon. Just like 1300, and it seems like that RoRs at this point are rebuilding at the very back. Yeah, you can see that they are in a defensive stance. Angelina Jolie going into Imperial Age, the same as Jon Snow, and they will be trying to come back to the water exactly like Sinside is planning at the middle here. Rather in the middle. So yeah, this is just basically in total control of the players here. Very nicely positioned castle from the Mongols to pose at least some kind of problem to his opponents if they manage to get somewhere close, but I'm kinda expecting the elite cannon galleons to come in pretty soon, and that will be taking care of any kind of castles pretty soon indeed. Fortunately for RoRs, Pichot was making sure that he actually knows about what's happening somewhere else, and he was having a bit of a scouting at the very back, which means that he knows that Grey and right now also Orange are gathering some extra armies at the back, trying to wait for the correct moment, which is unfortunate for them, but quite well played for the Gauchos, so they will be prepared for what is to come. Yeah, bit of an abuse of the economy here as much as they can, because they are ruling the water so far. I'm still waiting for some proper landing, because this is basically the greatest spot on RoR's island, as they have no line of sight there, and they have absolutely no movement there as well. So yep, that's something to be interested in for Gauchos. And will they make that count? Well, so far they're not really interested in that, they're just interested in booming as much as they can and try to make sure that they are as successful as they are, and well, this is just unfortunate for Red. He's having a lot of boats here, absolutely unaware that he could be using somewhere else. Yeah, we see that Pichot is already having transport ship ready. He's definitely thinking about the landing himself, and he's probably going to do it once he clears this market together with this house, and he will be landing somewhere here, I would be guessing. Somewhere else, still not much interesting going on, just that Inside is making an attempt actually at Orange, and Orange will have to actually engage him at this point, and he is engaging at pretty much the correct moment, because he will be switching into Galleons pretty soon, and let's see about that. Yeah, it's just a matter of moments. Yep, and here they are, Galleons, and exactly as Steel spotted it, he had to retreat. Especially with those reinforcements from Grey coming in from the bottom, so it seems like that we will be coming from the top with a lot of boats. A lot of boats, especially from Orange. It's going to be a pretty huge water battle. It's already a bit lagging, but it's going to be even worse with that battle. And well, Red is trying to join up with Green, so it's going to be proper 2v2, and let's see how that will develop. In the middle, it's just basically waiting for the landing to happen, as both Red and Purple are just waiting for the correct moment. And yep, here we go. Red is on the mainland of RoRs with a lot of villages, and this is probably going to be a drop of the castle, I would guess, at this point. And do we see some landing from Purple? Yet. He's still waiting, so still not a landing from him, but here we see. We're going to have a look at those villages. Okay, so just barracks from the Huns. It's kinda interesting at this point. So is that going to be into like champions or whatnot? Well, probably, but we are getting closer to some important battle on the water up top. Yeah, this is going to be pretty huge at this point. You're going to be seeing a bit of a castle from Angelina Jolie as well. And where should they make castle? Probably to protect this gold, I would say. But it's going to be quite hard for them as... Oh well, that's a ton of boats. That's a ton of boats coming top, but already there is quite a lot of them. This is going to be the deciding battle, I guess. Because I kinda guess that RoRs are going to see that there is absolutely no chance they can come back to the water here. There's absolutely no chance that they can win 2 versus 3, especially since RoRs are basically, or rather Gauchos, have been preparing for this for the majority of the game. So yeah, this is going to be pretty horrible for them. And I would fully expect that after this battle is gone, that we might be seeing the GGs. Let's see if that's going to happen, or if there's some special plan from the RoRs. Okay, so they are not giving up yet, but they are also under pretty heavy attack at the very bottom. Even though some castles have been built as a defense from rulers of RoR, one castle from red is already up, which is a pretty huge defensive help for him, and he is switching into stables here, so that's going to be probably for Cavaliers. Yeah, Cavaliers already been researched if you look at the right side, and probably Paladins won't be far behind. I'm going to switch into him. It's Mate. It's going to take a bit of time, but he's having a pretty decent amount of gold at this point, and also there is already a trade line. So yeah, I'm kinda guessing that this is a game for Gauchos for the taking. Zinside is yet again attempting another landing, and he has attempted quite nicely with Mangurais already, so he's forcing orange of his stone, which is pretty important because he won't be able to do, or rather build his castles for the defense of potentially the water and also the mainland, and this is going to be yet another siege workshop. And yeah, that's a lot of siege workshops from the Mongol, which is acceptable, or rather understandable, because they are having all those bonuses on them. And yep, this is just going to be a lot of veteran rams or whatever, because obviously his opponents don't have any kind of defense against that, just villagers. Pichot is also being generous and sending some resources to Mate, because he is the one landing here, so he should be the one actually winning in here and going for the Paladins. Yeah, right now switching into Paladins, so that's going to be an interesting battle from him. But looking how Tommy is switching into Pikemen with some of those trebuchets here, he could still be able to defend against all this with the support from Jon Snow, and the landing still might not be successful after all. So there's still quite a lot of fight left in RoRs, and let's see if they can somehow overcome their opponents. But it's going to be pretty tough, because even though they can probably defend the mainland, they probably cannot defend the water. As you can see, they're not having any kind of luck in there, even though the boats are not really in bad numbers. But looking how they are fighting, basically 2 versus 3 the whole time, it's kind of commendable that they are still keeping themselves in the game overall. Yeah, it's just going to be too easy through the trebuchets here, but they need... Okay. Well, easy. Yeah, take that bet. Gay needs to put up quite a lot of extra pikemen, because he won't be able to fight against all this. Okay, it's going to be a lot of overkill from those trebuchets. And here we go finally with the elite cannon galleons. That's exactly what we are waiting for. Well, it's simply just cannon galleons that they are probably going to be elite pretty soon. And here we see the attempt with the cavaliers on the siege weapons here. This is probably going to be quite successful, even though a lot of them are going to die just through the fire from the PC or from the castle. And also some of those Mangurais, and yeah, those pikemen are just going to have a go at them, but still, they weren't really numerous enough, and all those siege are basically gone. That's a huge amount of resources, and I'm not exactly sure why Grey didn't have more of them. That's kinda curious. He wasn't popped, at least think so. I'm not really sure why he didn't have all that many pikemen ready for that, as it was basically bound to happen when you see that many stables. There's only one course of action that could be going from there, and yeah, that's a lot of cavaliers, and also going quite a lot of paladins pretty soon. Also with the forging. Well, where has actually the paladin upgrade went? Or where has it gone, rather, this is correct English. They should have been paladins, because they were researching, but maybe he switched it and switched to caravan, heavy plow, whatever. That's weird. Yeah, he definitely switched off. And right now it is in. Okay, so it was a kind of malfunction of the overlay, so no problem. And he's having a pretty huge amount of resources, so he should be quite fine replenishing any kind of numbers that he's going to lose. And this is pretty heavy right now, or rather tough for RoRs, as yeah, I'm not really seeing how they could defend against that. They are making pretty good numbers, or putting up pretty great numbers on the water, so they are defending quite well against the purple opponent, because Teal has basically given up on the water. You can see that purple is the only one going for the boats, whereas red with teal are the ones that are going for proper landing here and for full land. And yeah, you can see this is going to be some kind of combination between Mate and Inside. I'm going to switch into Inside to look how many actually is he having in. It's actually quite a decent amount of siege rams. Are going to be quite helpful if he is able to get them working somewhere in the battle here. So far though, he's not having enough luck, as Angelina Jolie is defending quite nicely, repelling him as much as he can, so that's a pretty good job on that. But in the middle, Gray is not doing good enough job against Mate, which is kind of understandable, because Gray is also having to face his opponents on the water, so he is full on the water, but that's, yeah, pretty much it for him. And he's not having enough support on the land from his ally, Jon Snow, who is not having any kind of attack somewhere else. He is though being still raided by the opponent here. Yeah, using the Cannon Galleons here, and also draining from the Mangudais, which is pretty powerful at this point. And how many villies is he down? He's still at 102, so it's not really bad, but those 142 from Sinside are hugely above the average of anybody from the RoR team. There was still a bit of raid in here, but that was basically being killed or gotten rid of. Not fully though, still some extra paladins are here from the middle, and still yep, it doesn't seem like that RoRs are defending well enough here. They are just slowly gaining or rather losing ground, because they're not having any kind of defense against all those paladins. And they are kind of asking for the GG's between themselves, and yeah, they are calling it at this point. And yep, this is pretty much it. This is a GG, and even though RoRs were fighting quite well overall, yep, they have lost, and Gauchos have overcome them through some very nice strategy, and yep, that was very well played overall indeed. They definitely know their team islands, the same as they did against Power of Japan. Well, that was excellently played by Gaucho. So let's have a look at the achievements at this point. Yeah, Mate was the MVP as the pocket, which is kinda expected. And otherwise something interesting here. Well, quite a lot of slink from Pitchot into Mate, and also a bit to this inside, because these two guys, Red and Teal, were the ones landing. Yeah, pretty strong economy from Sinside overall. Alright, GG then.